There used to be 5 iconic stadiums that once trembled with the cheers of fans who roared with chants for the best players of the time, witnessed match-winning goals, and held some of football's most unforgettable moments, but are sadly now erased from the map. These places were football's coliseums, but today they only exist in stories and our memories as loyal fans. Let's take a look at the legendary stadiums that scored history and then disappeared from sight. Number 5. Highbury Stadium, Arsenal's beloved fortress. Now, it wasn't just where Arsenal played, it was, in a way, Arsenal. Highbury itself, built in 1913, had its style and tradition. The fans loved the place for its gorgeous Art Deco facade and symmetrical architecture, especially that of the iconic East and West stands. It had old-world elegance and a great presence in the stadium. Nothing like these modern stadiums that put more stress on capacity and luxury. Highbury has an intimate, almost magical quality to it. For good reasons, it was dubbed the home of football. Imagine it, a crowded stadium packed to its very limits, having a seating capacity of around 38,419 before it closed. It was so tight that fans could almost feel the grass beneath their noses. Highbury designed its stadium to be something of a fortress, raising the passion of Arsenal supporters and intimidating the visiting team. Narrow stands with fans practically on the pitch. Every cheer, groan, and gasp filled their ears. But its charm was also a great challenge. No scope to expand. As an area landmark, it is bounded by streets and homes packed with local devotees who dearly love Highbury. The true fan of the club does not want it to become a modern one, losing that special ambiance the stadium has to offer. This was Highbury. No one ever wanted to leave this ground despite being congested with its poor facilities. Here's a funny anecdote. Because of its small size, Highbury had some of the narrowest dimensions on any pitch in English football. Opposing teams would often joke that playing at Highbury was like getting squeezed into a phone booth with 10 Arsenal players. To the fans, however, it was part of the magic, making each tackle as if it was happening in the living room. Arsenal was moved in 2006 to Emirates Stadium due to the rising number of fans. Even though it had to be done, it is something that most fans would tell you they will pay nearly any amount of money to walk back through the gates of Highbury again. The present stadium site has become a luxury apartment, but in memory of the good old days, the facade of the East Stand remains intact. For them, Highbury would forever be close to the heart of the Arsenal faithful, a place that symbolized the past and an era that will never be forgotten. Number 4. Upton Park, London's spiritual home to West Ham United. Located in the East End of London, Upton Park, officially known as Bowling Ground, had more to its name for West Ham supporters. It was a place that could be considered a heart within a community. It reflected pride, grit, and loyalty. Upton Park, after all, served as the spiritual home for West Ham in its 112 years. It's where thousands of Hammers congregated in the stands to cheer their beloved team on. To many, Upton Park was a place not only to see a match, but also to unite with their families and friends along with other supporters. In its peak years, it can hold up to 40,000 to 42,000 fans, with a record attendance of 42,322 set in 1970 during an FA Cup match against Tottenham Hotspur. There was roughness around the edges at Upton Park, which was not exactly like any other stadium. The atmosphere is heavy, almost rowdy, packed shoulder to shoulder, cheering their side on. Upton Park is known for its boisterous working class following who aren't afraid to speak their minds when chanting encouragement or jeering a dodgy ref. And when the Hammers score, the roars can be heard all over East London. One of the memories is the last game played by the stadium back in 2016 versus Manchester United. The people had full attendance on the ground. Some were crying, while others were bellowing at the top of their voices. West Ham scored the first goal of the game, hence emerging victorious with a 3-2 score. It also marked the last goal Winston Reid has ever made for Upton Park. The crowd exploded into one of their last memories of what the fans felt going through the game. After this farewell, which no one will forget easily, the club shifted its base to the Olympic Stadium. It is a new stadium holding a larger capacity, but presents a different feel and therefore does not render the same amount of emotional value that Upton Park can offer. To the majority of West Ham fans, it will always be the team's home. It was a venue that hosted generations of fans and so many memories. Whereas it is already a suburban hub, part of the spirit of Upton Park lives on through every one of the supporters who could remember the deafening sounds of its roar in the Bowling Ground. Number 3. Vicente Calderón Stadium, the passionate home for Atletico Madrid. Vicente Calderón Stadium, located on the banks of Manzanares River in Madrid, has been the symbol of passion and tenacity for the Atletico Madrid faithful over 5 decades. It was known for its innovative design, where Calderón boasted a feature that no other stadium in the world could boast. Highway ran right underneath its main stand. That is correct. As Atletico supporters cheered their team on above, cars zipped past below, making it feel like the city itself was part of the action. The stadium was unique in its design, but was also a place of fiery passion. Atletico's fanbase is one of the most loyal and supportive, making the atmosphere so powerful that fans would joke it would rattle the cars driving underneath. And they weren't kidding. Atletico fans brought unmatched energy to Calderón, turning every game into a life or death struggle that felt like the final match of the season. A common sight at Calderón, around 62,000 flaming fans covered in red and white clothing, singing and shouting, with flags at the top of their lungs, creating scenery and oral scenery that could probably challenge the match head on. There were great moments, from the bankrupt Atletico to being the European runner. With each high and low, the bond between fans and their sweetheart Calderón only grew further. Atletico had to make a very difficult decision to move to Wanda Metropolitano. The demolition of Calderón was a bittersweet goodbye, clearing the area for a riverside park and housing. While it has state-of-the-art facilities and grand design, it lacks the raw character and intimacy of Calderón. For Atletico fans, the Vicente Calderón Stadium is a reminder of their club's strength, spirit, and relentless passion. Number 2. Main Road, home for 100 years. Main Road was more than another stadium. For over 80 years, it had been the love of Manchester City fans. Known as the Wembley of the North, it was erected in 1923, and Manchester City quickly began to enjoy the life and soul at Main Road. But it wasn't just another football ground. It represented Manchester culture, where City faithful flocked to chant for their team. Perhaps one of the most legendary matches played at Main Road is the 1934 FA Cup match between Manchester City and Stoke. The attendance reached over 85,000 fans, which remains an attendance record for the highest at any club game in England to date. It was really a testament to the mass following of City and the unbreakable bond between the fans and their team. Main Road became famous through loyal supporters who had supported the city during thick and thin. Nowhere better was the delight and frustration of the game shared as they won their titles or suffered through seasons in Main Road. Old, leaky in some places, but a little bit rough around the edges. When Manchester City moved to Etihad Stadium in 2003, Main Road was bulldozed, but its soul remains. Today, it is a residential area, but for the fans, they could never forget the place. Main Road remains one of the old days where football felt so simple and where the game was about community, loyalty, and raw passion. And number 1, Camp de la Course, the original home of SC Barcelona. Camp de la Course was the first mythical stadium of SC Barcelona, prior to Camp Nou. In itself is a true symbol for Catalonia and the birthplace and the rise of Barca. It was initially constructed modestly in 1922, but eventually became very massive, seating more than 60,000 spectators at once. Thus, it can be considered a fortress on behalf of Barcelona. La Cour was also the place where Barca of yore erupted for the first time, and it was there that Barca's faithful first realized the special passion and pride of Barcelona. As more devotees joined, an increase in venue size took place, which later saw the construction of Camp Nou in the 1950s. However, it will always be part and parcel of Barca as the ground of their first Liga victory. It eventually came down, but now occupies the land that turned into a place where Barca fans pay homage to their club's pioneering era. To any Barca fans, La Cour is much more than just a memory, it's part of their identity. These 5 stadiums are more than just places to play soccer. They are historical landmarks where generations witness unforgettable moments that created lifelong memories. Though they are no longer with us, they will live forever in the hearts of fans remembering the electricity, passion, and history witnessed there. Well, if you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with your own memories of these legendary stadiums. Is Canada's $12 billion mega dam the breakthrough energy solution we need, or an impending environmental catastrophe? Check out this video to find out.